Miss Her. It's the 11th song on Another Universe. And it was one that was inspired by memories of my mom. When I wrote it in the spring of the year, she had been gone just a few months, and I was going through some tough times and sitting outside working on this song and just thinking, man, if she was here right now, she would be giving me some great advice. And I was really missing her. I'm in the studio this evening with Michael Kelsey, the recording engineer for this project and the producer. He did the instrumentation for the tracks you hear on Miss Her, as well as nearly all of the instrumentation on the other songs on the album. And also here with me in the studio is Scott Greeson, my husband. Scott is my co-producer on the album. We all three are honored to have you with us here listening to the stories that we are going to tell you about the inspiration for the song lyrics in the song Miss Her and some behind the scenes about how this song came together. You'll also hear a funny little story about my mom, Lucille Maris. Here we go with the background about the song Miss Her. It's track 11 on Another Universe. Scott, don't you think that when you reflect about Mom?
Absolutely. And she was so, what I would call naturally philosophical. She, because of her life experience, she always seemed to have the answers to life situations, no matter what the situation was. So if you were a little down, she would have something to pick you up. She would have something wise to say. And it wasn't like she had to fish for it. It just came out.
I bet you've picked up by now that this episode of the podcast is about the song Miss Her. Join us here in just a moment. We're going to do a quick intro about this episode, and then we'll be off and running with the content about the song Miss Her. You are listening to the podcast, The Making of Another Universe. I am your host, Vickie Maris. In the studio with me this evening is Michael Kelsey and Scott Greeson. You've already heard Scott's voice here on this episode of the show. We are looking forward to telling you about the stories behind this particular song, Miss Her, as well as the mechanics behind the creation of this song and how we work together to bring to you not only this particular piece on the album, but you're going to hear some nuggets about the other songs as well. I hope you have been listening to the podcast already and that you've caught some of the other episodes, but if you haven't, please scroll through and check out our other conversations about the other 10 tracks on the album. This is a lot of fun for us to get to share the behind the scenes about Miss Her for you. If you haven't already listened to the song Miss Her, we hope you will do that as well. This particular episode is powered by our websites. We would love for you to go out and visit our websites and join our email lists so that we can keep in touch. You've got 3 singer-songwriters and 3 entertainers here in the studio tonight. We each have our own websites representing our music. Mine is VickieMarisMusic.com. Scott's site is ScottGreesonMusic.com. And Michael's site is MichaelKelsey.com. Jump out there to those websites and join our email list so we can keep in touch. All right, let's get going with this episode of the podcast. This one is our conversation about Miss Her. Well, welcome back. I'm so glad you are here with the 3 of us in the studio. We are going to tell you a little bit about track number 11 on Another Universe. Michael, would you chime in on that particular song? I think of it as one of the gentler songs of the album. I love your input as the person who did all the instrumentation of that song.
Yeah, what a sweet song, and the chord structure that you did, it complemented the song perfectly. Your everything just sounded like a piece of nature, like a just something that was meant to be. And it was kind of so delicate that sometimes when you're thinking of a song, as I hear it groove, I might think to myself, what's going to keep the groove? Is it an instrument? Is it a drum? What's keeping the time? And it was so gentle that you realize that if there were a drum or an actual percussion, it might actually distract from the sweetness of the song. And I think just as to use as a click track, I was using a bass guitar that I just was making a thumpy little rhythm that felt natural in the moment to choose to go by. And then later on, you realize that's all it needed. And that it doesn't move the song right along in a sweet way without ever letting you know that it's a drum. It's just moving it. And all those chords just floating around and very pretty. And then that's inspiring. And then as I hear that, and I always get your vocal track so that I can hear where you're going with it. And I'm just trying to bend the guitars around to set it up for wherever space is, to set it up for the next word coming in. And you're just trying to complement however your words are. That's how I'm trying to think in terms of adding an instrument in between, and just love the way it took shape. And then later on when you listen to it and you go, that feels like everything's right where it needs to be.
I thank you. I was curious about the rhythm behind that song. Do you ever try, like for that song, did you add any kind of drum track and then pull it back out, or did you just know right from the beginning that you were going to go without?
I think I did the scratch on the bass first, and then I realized that's what I was going to like. I think I actually just used the first thing, and you might EQ it different to get a little bit more, where maybe the lower end thumps a little bit more and the clicks a little bit more, something like that, just to enhance it. But then I realized that I go, it's doing the job. So if someone's doing the job, you just leave it, but it has so it gives that light, airy feel, and it feels like your message and your words are the main thing that need to come out.
The song "Miss Her" is one of a couple of the songs on the album where my accordion coach, Courtney von Drehle, he's not in the studio with us right now for this conversation, but he helped me with that song. I often would play the very rough tracks, right after I had written a song, I would play them for him over a Zoom call. And I remember him making some suggestions to add some transition chords. I don't remember exactly now where they went. I think it was going into the bridge, maybe coming out of.
And that's the power of inspiration when somebody hears something and they're moved to say something, and the power of getting other people involved. It's just getting their instinct. I always love just seeing what somebody's first instinct before their brain has a chance to kick into gear. But sometimes when they speak up, it's because they just get an idea, and I always think you should honor that idea if it came to them.
Yep. Scott, you look like you have something you want to say.
It's interesting. I don't think Michael ever met your mom, or if he did in passing before she passed. It could have been possibly in 2018, maybe he met her. But if you were to pick a soundtrack for your mother's life with regard to her movement and the way, especially towards the end of her life, if I were to say this musical score is a soundtrack to somebody's life, and the way they moved and their just them, that sound of that song presents an imagery of your mother. It's a beautiful piece lyrically, but also the musical score. If it had no lyrics whatsoever, I could hear that and think, I could see Lucille walking down the hall of her apartment building to the score of this music, and the meter and the rhythm, and the longing for her advice that is described in your lyrics in this song, but combined with the music, is a beautiful thing. But it's really reflective of the imagery of what your mother was. beautiful and with presence. She always had a presence,
Yeah,
and that's what
she
the song represents.
Thank you. I felt that about her as well. I was just this morning, actually, we were noticing we often will practice periods of silence in our morning routine, and it rained a little bit. We were outside and it rained a little bit just for a moment, and that was exactly what the weather was like the morning that I wrote that song. And I realized after it had, I was seeing the raindrops on the deck and thinking, I'm seeing raindrops, but I'm not feeling them. And that's where that line came from in that song, where I no longer feel the rain.
Isn't it strange?
Yeah.
I no longer feel the rain.
And then it just seemed interesting to me that here today, it happens to be the anniversary of her, first anniversary of her death. And we get some rain like that I didn't feel. I was, once again, seeing the raindrops and not feeling that.
I said, I'm looking for the source of those raindrops, and I'm having a hard time finding those tears from heaven. Where did they come from?
So one other thing I wanted to share about that song is when we were recording the keeper vocals for that one, I had tears in my eyes when I was recording it. We were contemplating as we listened back, were the tears disruptive of what we wanted the final song to sound like. And I remember you saying, let's keep them in there. Let's leave the emotion there. I'm glad we did that.
Yeah. It's nothing like the real moment to get captured. And then it seems like when you hear it later, it feels like you're really feeling that moment in time.
The authenticity of what you guys both captured, both Michael with the music, accentuating what Vickie brought to you in the production, and Vickie's lyrics. I think a lot of people will be able to relate to that, because we've all had people in our lives that are those go-to answer people. Mm-hmm. And that's what this song is really about, longing to be able to reconnect with somebody with that much wisdom. And that's what this song's about.
She had it right up until the end of her life. She had something happen a couple of weeks before she died that was probably a stroke of some sort. But right up until that moment, she was giving advice to all of us. So up till age 99. So we do miss her. But I'm also grateful for the years with her.
We do. And we think about the impact that other people's lives have on us. And many times we're not fully appreciative of that until they're gone. Mm-hmm. And the beauty is, the other thing about this song, Vickie, I don't know that you may be able to fully appreciate. I think when we hear songs like this, it may also make us more fully appreciate those that we consider to be the people of wisdom in our lives while they're still here. Mm-hmm. And so on the surface, this tune may appear to be one of purely reflection. For me, it's made me think about, okay, that is true. I miss her terribly, but I also have gone to really think about those who I appreciate in the present moment.
Yes. So I want to end this episode with something fun that she said about Michael. Mm-hmm. Michael filled in for us. Scott and I have a band that plays at fairs and festivals, and Michael filled in on lead guitar for us last summer.
I remember this, Vickie. This is fun.
And I was taking my mom to a doctor appointment, and we were coming back, and I had the video. One of our fans had given us a phone video of one of the songs we had played at the
Taste of Tippecanoe.
The Taste of Tippecanoe. And Michael was leading our band in one of his songs, one of his originals. Totally
improvisational, right?
Yes, it was.
It caught everybody off guard.
We didn't know we were going to be playing with you on that song, Michael. It was a lot of fun.
Got us out of our comfortable pants into our uncomfortable tighty-whities.
But anyway, I had that video on my phone, and I was just playing it through the stereo system on the car. So she wasn't looking at the video. She had her eyes closed. She was leaning back against the car seat and listening. And my mom was not a musician. She would have been the first to tell you, I don't play any instruments. I can't sing. She certainly was a supporter of the musicians in her family and was a great supporter.
Loved music.
Yeah, me
Absolutely
and Scott.
loved it.
And she and my dad used to go, listen to music live all the time. But she's leaning back against the car seat, and she says to me with her eyes closed, "Who's the new band member?" And I said, "Well, Mom, what are you hearing? Tell me a little bit more." And she goes, "Well, that guitar player you added is sure tasty."
Ooh.
So I love that she was able to pick you out in the mix, and that with her, what she would call a non-musical ear, she was hearing.
It's pretty amazing.
Hearing what you had layered in, Michael.
So an idea for your latest T-shirts, Michael, Tasty Mike. And,
oh, very fun. Well, thank you for hanging out with us for this conversation about the song called Miss Her.
Thanks for inviting us, Vic. We appreciate this. It's fun to be a part of this very special project that you and Michael have created. And I'm honored to know both of you, but this is just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. In a brief summary about this episode of the show, The Making of Another Universe, I want to thank you for being here, and I appreciate you sharing this music, this song, Miss Her, as well as the other songs on the album, with your friends and fellow music lovers. It really warms my heart that you are helping these songs reach around the world. Michael and Scott and I each invite you to subscribe to our email lists. We can keep you posted as we are releasing new singles or new albums, or if you are interested in knowing where our upcoming concerts and shows are going to be, please do visit each of our websites and add your preferred email address to our list. The website addresses are michaelkelsey.com, scottgreesonmusic.com, and VickieMarismusic.com. And don't forget that you can rate and review this podcast out in your favorite podcast app, wherever you are listening to it right now. That is helpful in telling others about this behind-the-scenes podcast about the making of the album Another Universe. I really do feel grateful for your wonderful ratings and reviews of the podcast. And all three of us, we thank you for listening to our music. That is what warms our heart more than anything, bringing joy to you, the listener of our music. Until next time, you take care, and we look forward to seeing you at a concert soon.